Okay. All right. So, afternoon. I'm Merle Yancey. I'm a professor at Ivy Tech. I am starting my 17th year teaching here. I spent 25 years in the Army. I worked logistics there. I was also a bandsman. I played trumpet and drums. I did some stuff with early stages of cell phones and the internet, and did 6 years in engineering. So I got to change careers without losing any money or any rank or anything. It was pretty interesting. Um, the class that you're enrolled in is Introduction to Logistics. And within this class, you're going to have the opportunity to earn two nationally recognized, internationally recognized certifications. The Certified Logistics Associate and the Certified Logistics Technician. And so for the first 4 weeks, we're going to concentrate on the Certified Logistics Associate, and that's sort of the entry-level skills that you need to work in our industry. The second 4 weeks, we're going to move to the next level where you'll be prepping to take the Certified Logistics Technician certification, and that teaches you how to be a team leader, a supervisor, and that certification carries a little bit more oomph when it comes to what your earning potential is. So each one of those certifications have 9 different modules that we're going to discuss and explore. And so we're going to do 2 this week. Next week it's going to be a pretty heavy lift. We got 3, but they're all related. And then we do 2 for the remaining 2 weeks and for the first half of our class. At the end of 4 weeks, you're going to be asked to take the exam, and you've already paid for it. You've already paid for the proctoring and everything as part of being in this class. So you'll be able to take that exam from your home or from work, wherever you'd like, using ProctorU. And we got written instructions, and we'll go over that in detail when it comes time for you to start making reservations to take it at your home. All you have to have is a camera and a microphone, and you can take it wherever you want to. Historically, we've got a 100% pass rate for the first one. Let's see what I've got. Somebody I thought was coming in. So you got a very good chance of earning that first certification. Our second certification, that supervisor team leader certification, that has a little more difficulty, and we have about an 80% pass rate. So all the materials you need to do well on it are going to be available to you. And when we meet, we're going to try to not go read PowerPoint slides or read a textbook to you. It's tough to lecture electronically, and so we want to discuss things and give examples and try to do a couple exercises where you actually get to see how those things work. So you can imagine doing that virtually is going to be a stretch. I beg your participation and your indulgence as we try to work through this in the different format. If we were in a classroom, I've got all kinds of props and tools, and we could actually hand you something to do it, but we're going to try to do this handoff virtually. Okay, so just a quick look at our syllabus. That's what I've got displayed on the screen, or do I? Can everybody see the syllabus? Somebody be my thumbs up person.
Yes.
Thank you. So I've sent this to you so you'd have a printed version if you wanted it. But on our syllabus, it basically has the codes that you're going to need to be able to get into the resources that are going to prep you for those 2 certifications. And the link that takes you to it is right in the syllabus. It's a live link. And so when you come into our class, and does everybody know how to get to the class? You got to go through Ivy Tech, log in with your Ivy Tech email and password, and you're going to come in through Ivy Learn, and then it'll bring you into a screen that looks something like this. That's going to have a block that has each one of the classes that you're enrolled in. And this is 3CH Fall 2020 Introduction to Logistics. So that's the course that we're coming into. I would hope that you, since I've got some folks that are in this class really 4 days a week, they've got time set aside in your vocational side to be in it for 2 hours Monday through Thursday, that you would come in here at least once or twice a week to check announcements and to work on your assignments. And during that 12:30 to 2:30, Monday through Thursday, Wednesday we're meeting, but on those other days, I'm actually available. I've got it blocked off for office hours for you folks in the class. If you wanted to come up and have something explained, or you have a question, or there's something you're unsure about, we have the time that we can do that. So first thing you might have noticed, I sent you an extra credit out there just so you could tell us a little bit about yourself, so we don't spend 20 minutes saying, hi, my name's Bob and I'm an alcoholic. We don't have to go through that. You can just tell us what you want us to know about you and get you some free points towards the course. The class has everything that you need, but the starting point is in this environment that we're in under Canvas. And I've got a couple emails from you, and I believe I did give you guys my cell phone number too, if you wanted to send me a text or something. If you got a question, I can get back to you as soon as I can. Usually it's, you know, within 10 or 15 minutes. But my phone number, 317, oh, it's backwards, ain't that neat? 445-1035. If you needed to text me or call me, you're welcome to do so. And but the best way to keep us on the same sheet of music, because I've got 7 classes. If you noticed on that last screen, there's 7 blocks there, and 4 of them are this same class. And so I've got 135 students, and if you ask me a question in the email and say, hey, how do we do that first module, and you don't tell me which class you're in, then it just adds more time that I have to go try to figure out who you are and which module you're talking about. So the best way for us to communicate is this little printer icon that says inbox. And what that does is it allows you to send me messages and anybody else in our class a message. You just go up and you compose it and you send it to me. This is where I go to about 6 or 8 times a day, because my first priority is to answer my students. My email is a secondary thing I check, but I'm in this environment most of the day, and when I see a number that shows up here in the inbox, then I see your questions, and here's students that have asked questions using the inbox this semester already. So when I click on that, it opens up your question in the class that you're assigned to. So then I can go and look at your grade, or I can check your work, or I can answer whatever your issue is. So that's the preferred way that we communicate. But if you send an email, make sure you tell me which class you're in, and you guys are in 127 3CH. If you send me a text, it's the same thing, because I'm getting traffic from, you know, a lot of different people. All right, so we're in the class now, and we're going to look at a quick look at the syllabus, because you want to know how you're going to pass this thing. There are an average of 4 assignments a week, but we do all but 2 of those in the class together. So there's going to be a project that you're going to do at home, and we met last week. You remember I wanted you to go through your trash? So we can kind of talk about that recycling exercise, just to see what you found that you could either repurpose, or you could actually get it recycled and put back in the system. So those are the kind of things that we can interact with, where on the projects, because you're going to do those in your home or at work, and then we can come back and discuss it. There's actually a place in our discussion board where you can enter in the results. There's a couple questions that we ask about that project each week, and if you put that information in there, that's how I can actually keep track of who's done the assignments and give you credit for it. But those are all fun assignments. There's nothing that's really a brain crusher when we do those each week. The other assignments that you're going to have, so let's just take a look at our syllabus real quick. That's the link to get you out to the class we're going to go to and get it started, and that's the code you're going to use for the first 4 weeks, the CLA. I'll give you a message and a heads up when you need to go out and enter in the code for the CLT to get all those resources. That'll be in the end of week 4. This has got all my contact information. It's got everything that we're going to cover in the class, the list of different topics. If I don't meet you today, this is an 8-week course, and you have to check in to the first class, or else you are dropped for non-attendance. So I see 9 folks, and I've got, you know, hopefully the other 4 show up before the end of the class. This has the information about ProctorU. There's a link that shows you how to go through it, and then it'll have step-by-steps. That's in your syllabus. But here's how we earn the points. Each week, you folks get to pick which week you want to do it, and everybody can't pick week 8. But each week, you're going to go out, and most folks just Google something that says supply chain and whatever we're talking about that week, if it's receiving, if it's new technology, if it's transportation or whatever. But what I want you to do is to go out and find something that's a current event that's happening now with this virus that's going around. The supply chains are going through all kinds of different evolutions. And so there's a lot of good stuff out there. But I want you to bring an article that you've read into the classroom discussion. And that assignment is only like a 1-page. It's got 3 paragraphs that you write. It's basically, I found this article about yada, yada, yada. And it basically talks about the cliff notes of it in a paragraph about Amazon coming up with a new way to inventory 5 million pieces in an 8-hour shift using a machine. And then you say that what you learned about or what you have questions about. And that's basically bringing new information that's not in our course, and it gives you a chance to practice your presentation skills. And so you can have your article up while you're talking through what you learned about it, or you can make a couple PowerPoint slides, you can make a poster. I had somebody wrap their article review. I mean, however you want to present it, it gives you a chance to work on your presentation skills. I'm only looking for 3 minutes. It's not like it's going to be an all-day thing. Just give us a recap of something that you read and share it with the class. It could be something if you're in the industry, or if you've had some interaction like in retail or online or whatever, where you're working with procurement, or you got a delivery that was asked up or what have you, then you can actually, instead of an article, you can give a personal experience. So we're just trying to add a little interest and variety. So each week, out of the 13 of you, we'll have 2 or 3 of you give us your article. Since you didn't know that's how I was going to do it, there'll probably be nobody today. But next week, I'd like to have, I'm going to post a little thing where you can volunteer which week you want to do it. I'd like to have a couple of you volunteer to go first. Nothing to be frightened of. I know that they've done studies, and public speaking, more people are afraid of that than snakes or spiders or death. So I understand there is some fear associated with it, but really you're in a room by yourself or your family and you're talking to yourself. So you kind of got a pass on this. Instead of being in a room with 30 people, it's going to be a little bit milder than, you know, if you were in a on-campus class. So that article review, 100 points, that's a letter grade, so you can't blow that off. Then we're going to have in-class activities. You got to show up to get those. I understand people's work and people's health and their school activities sometimes can give us, throw us a curveball, but we only meet 7 more times. you should be able to manage your time well enough to block out 2 hours 7 more times. So unless it's something extreme, you won't be eligible for any points that we would be offering that day in class if you miss it. But in class, we're going to do things like look at video clips. We're going to do exercises, where you actually do something that is associated with what we're discussing. And we're going to have conversations. So it's not just for showing up, it's not attendance, it's participation. And so there's going to be an activity that you'll be involved in. And we got one today, so we'll see how that works. Then you've got registering for your exams, telling us when you're going to take it, and then you got to take a screenshot and report how you did on the exam. You get points for doing that. And then at the end of the course, you're going to tell us what you liked about it or what sucks. So there's 40 points you can earn just for registering for the exams and taking them and sending us the results. The CLA, you need to score a 74.5. The CLT, you need to score a 77. So as you're taking these quizzes that are each one of those different chapters within the CLA and the CLT, I want you to score at least an 80 when you're taking them, and you can take them as many times as you want. So as you take those quizzes and you take a screenshot and send it to me, I'm looking for an 80 or higher on that to give you the full points. So if you need to take it twice or 3 times, they're not real tricky or anything. It's just you need to go through the material so you understand the terminology and you understand the process that they're asking you about. So those quizzes, there's going to be 18 of them. There's 9 for the CLA and there's 9 for the CLT. And depending on how many questions, each question's worth a point. So you're going to have 229 questions over the next 8 weeks you got to answer in a quiz. So that's our 1,000 points. The only other things that I might have you directed to, I sent you a copy of this too, and it's like a list of our assignments and when they're due. On this list, it's going to have videos. You don't have to do those. The only 2 that you're going to be doing is the discussion board, which is this project each week, and then however many quizzes they have for post-quiz results, you'll do those quizzes. So there's not a whole lot of outside make work stuff. You're going to be prepping for those exams and taking quizzes that tell how well you did on each one of the different sections of it, and then you're going to do some type of project where you can apply that each week. All right, so let's get into the class. That was our syllabus. Any questions about the syllabus? Okay, great. All right, so when we met for our orientation, the folks that are in the Area 31 program, last week we met for the orientation and we showed you how to become members of MSSC. You are now a paid lifetime member of that organization. It's the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. And they basically are the ones who say who knows what, so they can offer these certifications. You can get them in forklift operations and safety, firefighting, all kinds of stuff that's within manufacturing. And since logistics comes to the manufacturer and takes the product and moves it, we are associated with that organization. So you become a member by going out to msscusa.org, and they know who you are because we've already sent your money to them. So when you fill out your information about that, you'll be given a membership number, and you want to make sure that you can see that. If you don't see that, then you skip the box or you answered a question incorrectly. But you should see this screen, msscusa.org. I get Connexus. Let's try this again. msscusa.org. And the first time you come out here, you're going to go through a registration, and then any other time you're just going to log in. But when you come into it, you're going to go here to create an account, or to log in. And since I've already been out here once, it remembers who I am. So once you've went through the registration, you're going to log back in. You should see this screen, and up by your name, you should see your membership number. If that doesn't show up there, then you need to send me a text or an email, and we'll go through and figure out what you skipped or what you answered wrong. This course is giving you the equivalent in their book of a year's experience. So when they ask you, do you have any experience, you say 0 to 1 year. If you don't say 0, if you say none, then you can't become a member. So that's where most of the students don't get through the registration, is they say, I don't know, but you're getting a year's worth of experience with this course, and that's how you become a member here. So that's the first step. This is so you can actually get to take the exam. And we've had people in week 4 when we're trying to get your exam, and MSSC doesn't know who you are, you're not a member, so they won't send you the exam. So we want to make sure you take care of this week. Okay, so now we're going to go to where the majority of your class is, and that's in OpusWorks. And I showed you the link on the syllabus. It'll bring you out to a screen that looks like this. And this is where any third-party training that Ivy Tech deals with comes into our learning platforms. And so when you are going the first time, you're going to hit register, and then that code that's in our syllabus, just copy it and paste it right here and agree, and that's how you get access to these resources. Once you register, the next time you come back, you just log in, and it's going to know who you are, and you go right into your class. So what I'm looking for from you is going into classes. I had a couple people saw this screen that says CLA test, and they actually took the practice tests for the exam. These are practice tests right before you go and take your certification exam, just to give you some more confidence and to reacquaint you with all 9 modules worth of stuff. And you can take those as many times as you want to. But I actually had a couple people that did pretty good on it. They got like a 60 without even going through the course yet. So that's telling me they got some industry background. But you're actually going to go to where it says classes, and then you're going to pick up this Global Supply Chain Foundations class. And here are those 9 modules we'll be talking about each week. So today's the first one, which is Global Supply Chain. When we click on that, it has you click to play. But on this screen, you already see that it has a post-test. And this is what I want you to take a picture of, where it has the name of the chapter that you are in and what your results are on the quiz. So this is what you take a screenshot of, and you upload it to get your credit for that. And you can just go straight to post-test results. And I have so many results on here is because if somebody in my class is having problems logging, I let them log in as my student account, and then they can keep working towards completing their assignments until they get whatever issues messed up with their account. But all of you already have accounts, and so unless something happens that doesn't work, you won't have to use my account. So we're not going to go step by step through this. This is stuff you do outside of class on Monday through Saturday or whatever. And this doesn't really take that long. If you see the estimated time was 40 minutes, it actually took about 15 minutes to go through it. That's if you listen to every one, because the slides are all narrated. If you listen to everything on the slide, and then when they get to a place where there's a question and you take a while to answer the question, nothing on here has a time limit except the actual certification. And so you can take as long as you want in this. You can go back and look at these slides as many times as you like. You can take the quizzes as many times as you like. I got somebody in the waiting room. Let me get them in here. Okay. My internet's not responding to let them in. So it's really self-paced when it comes to you get I don't know if you guys can hear me, but it's saying that the meeting is not responding. So it could be, I hear a little bit of a voice.
We lost you for a second.
Okay. If you can imagine how many people are using this software across the country, it's crazy. My wife teaches math for Ivy Tech, and Monday, the entire country was down. And that they couldn't hear their instructor. They were really paranoid. All right. So I'm still getting not responding. Can you folks still hear me? I can see you moving around on video. Okay. I'm trying to get these other people that are locked out in, and that's the screen that it's not responding to. Okay. Let's try this. Let's go over here. Everybody's froze. What are you seeing right now? Are you seeing my screen, or?
It looks like at the very top, your webcam screen is frozen and your computer screen is on, but it may or may not be frozen. I'm not sure.
Are we back now? It looked like it cleared up a little bit.
I don't know. And then, oh, maybe. No, yours is blacked out now. But
Yeah, it just did that to me here.
that's probably better.
This is one.
Hello. Hello.
I can't hear anyone if anyone can hear me.
I can hear you, dude. What's up? Where's everyone at?
Did he just leave the call?
Yeah. Damn. Well, I don't even know what to do at that point. But
I think he's back. Nope.
Okay, it looks like we're back, and that was not fun.
yeah, you are back though. Yeah.
Last couple semesters, it's been pretty good, but the first week, it's crazy like this every time. All right, so I'm making sure I got everybody from the waiting room. Go. All right. So I think we're back. The insurance policy is I have this already recorded that I can give you the link. If something happens where we can't get all the way through it, then you'll have that to fall back on. All right. So we were taking a look out at OpusWorks. Has anybody got out there and played with that yet? With OpusWorks?
I was able to log into it.
Did you take the exam?
I just did the first one, the CLA.
Yes.
I got a 95.
Okay, excellent.
I actually don't know. I couldn't see what I missed because everything was checked. I was looking for like a red X mark for what I missed, but it didn't indicate that at all.
Okay. Why am I not seeing my whole toolbar here? I'm talking to myself a little here. All right, maybe this will help. There we go. All right, so let me get us back to, let's go off this screen, see if this helps. All right. So I sent you folks this PowerPoint that took you step by step. If you joined the class after I sent that email out, this PowerPoint is in one of the announcements for the first week, saying that you can follow this and it'll take you to each of the different steps to go through MSSC and OpusWorks. So you got that as a resource to get you registered and get you where you can do your homework. Let's go ahead and get into chapter 1 and discuss a little bit about, I hate PowerPoint. Death by PowerPoint is probably crueler than bamboo or water torture. So I try to make them 10 slides or less when we actually use them, just so you folks don't, you know, fall asleep at the wheel on me. So we just have a couple things that we want to talk about. So logistics now is, I've got more inquiries, people asking about what is supply chain since this pandemic started, and they don't know why they can't get toilet paper. They want to know, well, what happened? And so the supply chain basically is anything that occurs from getting raw materials all the way to handing it to the customer. And services are part of that too. We actually have things that are involved in the supply chain that involves information, taking your order, updating any kind of, you can actually buy software. So there's actually, sometimes there's not a box that shows up somewhere. But we see, because of this global environment that we're in, when there's a health issue in China and we get about 80% of our product from China that's sold in the US, we realize right away how much we depend on other countries. And so many organizations have decided to have a domestic stateside supply chain. So you're coming into this field at the opportune time, because there's a lot of opportunity for upward mobility as far as leadership and management, because they're going to have so many of these supply chains that are going to have staffing in them. There's always going to be the opportunity for a machine to come in and do the heavy lifting, but when it comes to making decisions and people skills, there's always going to be a job for you there too. So they are trying to come up with a new approach where transportation and everything is a lot less expensive than importing it from another continent. The reason they took them there, why do you think that they outsourced our supply chains to China?
The overall cost, like mainly the regulations, I think, is a lot of it. Not even like, part of it's the workforce, but like the regulations, they don't have to have an AC building or something like that. Well, maybe not China, but that's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the right answer. I mean, the major reason that they outsource is they don't have the same compliances that we have here. They don't have to have 9 steps on a ladder to pass an OSHA inspection. They don't have to have a certain handling of containers and storage for any kind of waste product. So it's really, you know, butchering up their environment, and we all have the same air. So when the wind blows it here, or the ocean carries it here, we're getting their pollution the same as if it was down on our shores. But the major compliance is a heavy cost. Labor is the other. Our dollar is very strong, and so somebody here that's making $20 an hour doing the function that somebody in China is doing for $2 an hour. So it's it makes it very enticing to take your operations overseas. But now we're finding that that may not be so smart. We don't make any medicine here as far as antibiotics, and because they have high regulations on how they're handled and how they're produced and everything. And just to make it cheaper and less headaches, they exported that to China. But we're finding that that leaves us pretty short if there's an issue like what's going on today, or there's a war, or there's some type of a break in that supply chain. We really did suffer. So we made a rebound, and they learned a lot of hard lessons about that in the global arena. Some of the different careers, if you just type in supply chain to like one of the job sites, Indeed or Monster or something, you'll find that there's, within the Indianapolis area, 25 miles in every direction, there's over 5,000 openings. And they're not all just handling product or driving trucks. There's folks that are on this list here. You got the frontline worker, of course, and then you got a lead or a foreman, and that's what this certification is going to put you in line for. Supervisors, operations, warehouse managers, distribution, and then there's these vice presidents, and there's these executives in each of these different branches. And so the average salary that our graduates with our degree are earning, that they report back to us with in Indianapolis, is in the 70s. So that's average. Some of them are making 50s, some of them are making 90s. And for those of you that are in the industry, you know it does pay well. The hours and the time off is probably the biggest drawback, that it's very challenging and you're away from your family a lot. But they do compensate you for, if you're at the right place, for making those sacrifices. The life cycle, or the actual loop that's in the supply chain, we discussed, it starts with raw materials. Something's made into something in manufacturing. Then it's stored somewhere, or it's sent to a place where it can be distributed and not stored. And then it's transported to the end user or the customer. And in supply chain, we're involved in each one of those links of that cycle. So if it comes to contracting, which is a whole course in our degree program, procurement, we would have more than one supplier, say, send us masks. And we found out that that really wasn't the case, that people were depending on one source for something that important. And so they learned the hard lesson is you always have more than one supplier. You got a primary supplier, but you're going to have backups for any of your parts or anything that you use in your organization. And sometimes they get just one supplier because they get a discount for bulk, or they have very high quality, but you always have to have a plan B, just in case you're overproducing something, or that supplier goes offline and you have to start from scratch somewhere. Two major differences, and when we talk about a warehouse, this is some place that they can store things for, you know, years. When we're talking about a distribution center, they're saying less than a year, but most of the time a distribution center is a 30 to 90 day turnaround. Yeah, when it comes into a distribution center, it's going off a truck and on another truck. And some of them are designed where it's just like a straight building that has in and outdoors, and they call those cross docks, where there's no shelves at all. And that's just basically where if I got a truckload of turkeys, there's 1,000 of them on there. No one store needs 1,000 turkeys. And so when it comes into this distribution center, each of like the stores get 100, and they can shelf that and they can sell those. But a warehouse, that might be something where we're buying, it's August, we could be buying Christmas ornaments and wrapping paper and greeting cards and putting it in a warehouse, so we've got it close by to be ready to go into the retail environment. But warehouse space costs a lot of money. And if you look at how a warehouse is set up, and they're 30 foot high in the center, they don't have things stored all the way up to the rafters. And especially if it's a climate warehouse, like it's a refrigerated warehouse, each square foot of that space that they have to keep cold is has a high premium. And so people build warehouses as a last resort. And when they do, they try to place them strategically where that warehouse can take care of more parts of the country. And where's Indiana when you look at a map of the United States? Where's Indiana?
In the center.
That's right. So we're called the crossroads of the U.S., and it's for good reason. Anything that would go from Florida to Washington or from New York to California, it's probably going to pass through here. And so we have a lot of hubs, and we have a lot of rail systems, and we have state-of-the-art airports, because we handle a lot of merchandise going from point A to coast, point B. The only thing, if Indianapolis had a river going through it that was navigable for larger seagoing ships, this would be the mecca of all logistics. As it is, we do have a river to the south and to the north that we do use, but still land, the trucks, the air, and the rail, there's a high volume of it. I think we're number 2 and 3 in the nation when it comes to the amount of volume that goes through Indiana. So you could work this field and work your way up and not ever leave home. But one of the good things about this field is if you wanted to be in the supply chain and we did business with somebody in Paris or England or Belgium, you could work the other end of the supply chain too. So there's a lot of opportunity to travel and to experience other cultures and to take your knowledge and work the supply chain at the other end. 4 major functions, or they've got 5, I'm sorry. Receiving, stocking, processing the order, actually picking it and sending it out, and then shipping it. And then if something didn't go right, it's the return part. And that's what we did this exercise about recycling, is when, has anybody ever got a box, say you order something like chiclets, something very small, and it comes into a box the size of a refrigerator? Anybody ever had an oversized box for a very small item? This is the part where you guys say something. Yes, okay. I ordered a poster, you know, it was this thick, and it was like about 2 pages wide. And because it wouldn't fit in one of the standard boxes, instead of rolling it up into a tube and sending me the tube, I actually got a box that wouldn't fit through the doorway. And so inside this box is packing material, the little blowed up airbags. It's got the styrofoam peanuts, and it's got cardboard shredded. All this packing for a poster that's not fragile when it comes to breakable. And so all of that waste in the packing material in this huge box is in a landfill somewhere, unless I recycle it. And so there's regulations that tell shippers how much packing material and what kind of material that they can use, or they get fined. And it's usually not more than 20% more than the volume or the weight of the product that you're sending. And so they got to get that box close to the size of the actual product that they're sending. And most manufacturers pack it in their own box, and they make that box sturdy enough to where it can be shipped through the supply chain. Amazon's working through new technology. Does anybody know what shrink wrap is? It's basically a plastic that they can put on a box, and then if it's heated, it clings to the box. And so it's the same form and size of that box. Well, they're working on this technology of shrink wrapping, where they don't use the box. They just, if it needs any kind of packing material, they put the airbags around it, and then they put the plastic on it. Then they actually run that package through a machine, and it prints in ink, not a sticker or anything, the label on that shrink wrap. And so they don't have boxes, they don't have paper labels. They've just got this machine that keeps spitting out sheets of plastic that form fit to whatever that package is. And the only drawback is that it's not recyclable. And so they're working on a durable wrap that is recyclable. There's actually a plastic now that's edible, that they can use it in packing material. And depending on if it's kept sanitary, I mean, you could wash it, but you could actually, it's biodegradable. It's got sugar compounds and vegetable fiber that you could actually use it as like a pasta, or you could flavor it and drink it like Jello. So they are looking forward as to what our carbon footprint is when we're moving all these boxes in the packing. This is kind of what the transportation end of the thing looks like. 70% of what you get sent to you or that you use comes via a truck. And if it's sent to you by rail or air or by a ship, it still has to go on a truck. Unless you live at an airport or a rail station or a dock somewhere, there's still going to be a truck involved in the final destination. And so that's one of the areas that they're putting a lot of emphasis on, where they can go to electric semis, and they do have fleets of those out there already. And they can go to smaller deliveries that have a smaller emissions. As far as air, when we use that, it's the most expensive. It's also the most secure, because there's not a whole bunch of people hijacking airplanes to get flowers. You know, perishables, they want to use air because it's the quickest way to get it somewhere as well. Rail, it's kind of in the middle. It's pretty secure. It's low cost as far as the per mile, per pound. But it's just, you can't send it by rail to everywhere in the country. There's not that big of a rail system. But if you got something that's big and bulky, say cars or farm implements and things of that nature, primarily they go by rail. Then you got water. Anything that you get imported or exported goes onto a ocean-going vessel. Some of those ships can hold 20,000 semi-trailers worth of cargo. 20,000. So that is a big ship. And so if we're getting something from China, we're getting 20,000 semi-loads of something from China. It's a lot of stuff that comes over in each one of those shipments. The bad part about trading with them is they don't take back 20,000 truckloads of stuff from us. It's not an equal fair trade there. They'll ship back raw materials, like they'll buy wood from us, and they'll buy plastics and steel. They were our biggest customer for buying recycled stuff. They would take all of our plastic and stuff that we recycled, and then they take that back on that empty ship to get into their manufacturing process. So they aren't buying anything when they're taking our trash out. That's the bad part about our trade deals that we've had in the past. We buy all their stuff, create jobs and wealth in their country, and they take our trash. They don't buy our stuff. So we're working through trying to get a better deal than what we've had in the past. Now with e-commerce, you know, where you can order things with a click, it's expanded a lot of small businesses getting involved in supply chain. I ordered something just the last week or so. It was a seal that went inside of a pressure cooker. I'm a gardener, and I try to can things to keep the vegetables from going bad. This seal came from a place that that's all they do is make rubber seals for different types of applications. And it was a 5-person business, a mom and pops with their kids working. And so when you're clicking on Amazon, you don't know what size of a company you're actually purchasing from. And that's one of the big things that help small business out. 99% of all the jobs in the U.S., those employees work for a business with 5 people or less. And about 50% of all businesses have 1 employee. So when you think about work and where you're going to have a career, these big, large corporations, they're not the major employer. It's small business. And if you can imagine what's happening now with all these shutdowns and what's happening with the pandemic, those small businesses don't have the money to float for 6 and 8 months without any income coming in. So they're the ones that are really suffering right now. These huge conglomerates that are manufacturing millions of dollars of product a day, they can take a hit. But the small folks, that's the ones that are really hurting. Okay, this is kind of how we look at whether we're doing the job right. It's under a unit of measure called productivity. And it can be how many hours it takes a person to do the job. It could be how many pieces that person moves in an hour. It could be how many cases instead of eaches, you got cases, or it could be semi trucks. And then it could be how many orders can that one person process an hour. So depending on if you're talking about transportation, they want to know about sizes of pieces and weights and all that kind of stuff is how they measure productivity. If you're talking about manufacturing, it could be pieces per hour or labor, how much they get done within an hour as far as assembling or creating a product. So chapter 1 is basically talking about the global trends, and now since the writing of this book, it's reversing, where it's starting to be considered more of a domestic environment that we're looking at. And then they talked about 4 major types of transportation. What are they? Somebody can pipe up. 4 types of transportation. Come on, somebody make a jump.
Truck, rail, air, and pipe.
Well, pipe is in there, but ship is what they
Yeah.
showed us today. Pipeline is part of it. Hey, that was a major call there. They don't cover it in this as far as the certification, but Indianapolis is also a major hub for pipeline. So besides petroleum products that go through pipeline, which is a majority of it, and the majority of them are privately owned, you can actually shove orange juice, coal-fired plants. They don't have trucks and trains coming to them for the most part. They have a pipeline that has the coal ground up into 1-inch chunks, and they add water to it, and it makes a slurry, and it actually pushes the coal through a pipe. And so you got soybeans, corn, all that stuff can be moved through pipeline. The great thing about it is they don't have any drivers, so they don't have that labor involved in it. It's very expensive to put that pipe in the ground, but after that, it's air pressure is all they're expending to operate it. Another bad thing about pipe is it only goes about 2 miles an hour. So if you're sending orange juice from Florida and somebody's buying it in West Virginia, they're getting it sometime 3 months later or something, by the time it gets through the pipe. But that was a good catch. How about what's the difference between a warehouse and distribution center?
Is it the wait time that product sits there?
That's the primary answer. Is distribution center is a year or less. Warehouse can be more than that. So I got 4 chats going. Good. So that's our first module. After you go through, you have all these PowerPoint slides. This is just the first meeting that we're having, so I'm kind of showing you your resources. You have this as one of your resources. The best resource you have is the textbook. And I sent that to you digitally. If you didn't get it, send me a text or a message, and I'll send you the separate digital file. But you get to your textbook by going to our class and going into either the announcements. I have it attached there, or you can go into OpusWorks. That's where I got it. And if you go into OpusWorks, it's basically on the home page. We go back to announcements. I think we can get to it through. Let me bring this over so you can see what I'm doing here. You go up to the little hamburger and go into class. It has all the resources in here where you can get all materials. There's your 2 textbooks. So this first one we're into the CLA. And we just went through the first chapter. This is where I usually discuss from, is the actual textbook, and that's to get you to look at it. So there's some terminology in the textbook when you take the CLT, the second test, that's not covered in any of the slides or any of the questions on the quizzes. So if you haven't read the textbook, you're not expected to do very well on that. So I want you to get used to using the textbooks, the digital textbooks. They're printable. I have the link that takes you to a printable version. I've actually printed some for you, and I could work with the college to have them mailed out to you. But if you want a full color one that's professionally bound, you can order it right from MSSC. I think they're $40, and they send them right to your house. So let me see if I can get that pulled up a little better. Here's where I want to go. Under 120, under desktop. Okay, desktop. Fall 127. Our textbook is printable or non-printable, depending on which version that you're looking at. But it is very well done, and there's actually managers that keep one of these on their desk because it has all the stuff for safety, hazmat, everything that has to do with operations within the environment are in this textbook. So there's a lot of good information in it. I'm just trying to get this thing a little bit where we can see it. It's not letting me capture the screen. Let me move this block out of the way. One of the bad parts about this environment is you have me talking to myself a lot. Let's see. If I can get this, I can't get the thing to go over. So let me move the screen over to a different one. Let's see if I can go over to this one. Okay. So I got the textbook, and I want to be able to see it a lot better. I'm just trying to move it up where it's full screen. Okay. Yummy. There we go. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Let's see if I can just close this one. And okay, I opened the different one. Let me open up this printable one. I think I can manipulate it better. There we go. Because I scanned it, so it kind of gives me a little bit more liberties with it. All right. It's a little crooked, but it's because I tore it apart and scanned it so you folks would have something that you could print. Okay. I think it starts from the last chapter. Let's go down to the first chapter. There we go. So chapter 2 talks about the logistics environment. And if there's anything that I missed in this lecture or our discussion, the recording that you're going to have a link to covers everything. I probably should bring to your attention, it's in future chapters, but this is a picture of a flush dock. It's where a truck backs up to the building, and there's actually these locks, these forks that go under the trailer and pull it into the building. Then they put pieces of wood that are triangular shaped, they call them chocks. They put that in front of the trailer wheels because the majority, like high 90% of accidents happen right there between that dock and the trailer. Somebody falls between it, somebody gets smashed, something pinches them. That's the most dangerous place in the work environment that we're in, is that dock door. And so they have all these precautions, and it's going to be on the test asked 3 or 4 different ways about the safety of working around a dock. And you'll get to see the different types of locks they have and the light systems to tell you that it's secure or not. Let's see. So We're looking at the logistics environment, and this is not as big as I think we can make it. Page view. Okay. I'm going to have to practice this and get it down better. This is embarrassing. All right, so security. Who we got that works in the industry? I know that there was a couple folks when they were telling us about, a little bit about ourselves. Can we get a nod if you're in the industry right now, you're working in the environment? Nobody's nodding. Okay, so a warehouse or a distribution center has security protocols they take to make sure that they're safeguarding anything that's in that building, because it doesn't belong to them. They're moving it for another customer. So it'll start from having a fence where they have limited access. There'll be one way in, one way out. There'll be a gate for pedestrians where you go through and they check while you're there. And then they have gates for the trucks or the trains to go into the organization. And so you're going to have security there, an actual person. You're going to have cameras at every site, every corner, every part of that where they can record it and make sure that they can control access to it. There's also usually some type of card reader where you have a magnetic strip on it that allows you access to areas if that's where you're supposed to be. And then it's well lit. They have lighting. So 24/7 is how this operation goes. And 2 a.m. they want to make sure that they can see what's going on outside, where the trucks are and when they're coming in. So all of those different measures are used in security. As far as the big picture, there's this program called Custom Trade Participation Against Terrorism. And after 9/11, we wanted to make sure that we weren't getting ships that had stuff in them that would be bad news if it got released to the public. Things like biohazards, nuclear or chemicals, bombs. They wanted to make sure that they were safeguarding our borders. And so they came up with this international partnership, this CTAP, that basically we have a starting point when that the container is being loaded. It's videotaped and there's camera shots taken, a picture of it, of what goes into that container. And then when that container is sealed, there is a lock that's put on it, and then there's a metal band that's got a serial number on it that's put through with the lock. And they also have technology inside that container, like that track GPS where that container's at, what temperature it is inside the container, what elevation if it's in flight. And anytime that it takes any kind of a jostle or a bump, it measures any kind of vibration or any kind of pressures that happen inside there. And one of the reasons they do that is they want to make sure that if it's transported, that it's handled correctly. If I ordered these 10,000 new iPhones and they get here and they're water damaged or they're cracked or whatever, I've got those sensors inside that container that tell me what happened and when it happened, where it happened, and all that stuff. So all of those are also used for security purposes. If something's moved outside of that container, it's picked up before it gets to our shore. So the folks that are participating in this, when it gets to this end, it comes through customs, they don't have to go through all the measures of unloading it and counting piece by piece and inspecting everything, because it was done at the originating end. So if they're involved in this program, then we know when they're coming, and we, like the ship, if it's out there within 24 hours of it coming into port, it notifies the port, hey, I'm coming in with my cargo, we're part of this program, and they'll say, okay, come to this pier, this is where we'll process you. If it's rail, it's domestic, but they still, if they show up and they got rail cars full of stuff, they went through the same protocols and they know that it's a safe product, so they get fast forwarded to the front of the line. They don't have to wait. Semi trucks, the same thing. The trailer has been through that same security protocol. And so they get to deliver with just a 30-minute notice. Hey, I'm coming into your warehouse. I'm 30 minutes out. They are part of this system through automation. They know what's in that truck and where it's been and what the temperature and how many times they hit a chuck hole. So this works well for aircraft and ships basically coming from outside our domestic borders to make sure that we're not getting anything brought in. But it's still tracked even after it gets here until it gets to the final destination. And there's different time associated with the different types of delivery. So it goes from 30 minutes for a truck to 24 hours for a ship. And in between there, there's like a 4-hour for rail and there's an hour for air. So all of that's covered in your text here, but that's basically what that program is. You're going to be asked about that, what that is on the exam. So that's one of the things you probably want to highlight. This container security initiative, this is the starting point or the predecessor to it, where they came up with the guidelines on how they prove that that container is secure and that it's not been tampered with. So all of that is part of that CTAP. The FAST program is where they get to speed through the waiting list, where their containers or their ship or their air cargo goes to the front. And it's because if they're on domestically, Canada or Mexico, they can be a part of this FAST program through what used to be NAFTA. Now they're doing some Mexican, Canadian, American thing. But if they're within those three countries, then they don't get stopped and inspected. We want to go through one high point here I thought was pretty interesting too, is it's talking about how they lay a warehouse out. And just like if you go into Walmart, anybody notice the aisles are marked to tell, like at Lowe's or whatever, what's on that aisle? In a warehouse, is sort of like a library. It's got aisle 1, aisle 2, 3, all the way down. And on each side of the shelving, it could have A and B. And then when you walk down that aisle, every one of the spots in that aisle are in some type of a order too. So it could be aisle 1, pick slot or shelf spot A, or shelf spot 1, and they just go into a sequence all the way down that shelf. The reason that has to be set up that intricate is when a product comes in, it actually gets put in that warehouse. They have software that tells where it's at whenever that product is supposed to ship out. And so if they just brought it in and put it in a corner, it looked like your closet at your house. They wanted to be able to go find it within a second or so through technology to move it on down the road. So that's how they're laid out. They usually have one side of the warehouse has receiving, and they put it into the warehouse through the shelving and everything. And then when the product is sold or it's shipping out, they have shipping, and it goes out the other side usually, or it could go out any door. But it has a flow of traffic where stuff coming in doesn't get in the way of stuff going out. So we got the different types of docks, or if you can see the picture, you can look in your version of the textbook. But that flush dock is the most common one, where the truck backs up and it's at the same height as the dock is, and then they have a forklift go in and unload it. Sometimes they'll be just a little bit off, and so they have like a deck plate. They have a piece of metal that they roll over there, and it can go up or down. And sometimes they use these older types, like the mom and pop pops business I was telling you about, where they just got a small manufacturing site. They don't have a warehouse. And so as stuff gets done, they basically put it on their back porch. It's just like an area that's probably behind the building. and the truck backs up to it. And a lot of times stuff has to be hand loaded onto that truck because their back porch or their back deck is not the same height as that truck. They have some specialized equipment. It's like a death trap, but it's like a scissor jack that you can set the scissor jack out in a parking lot. The forklift drives up on that scissor jack, and then they hydraulically lift the forklift up to the same level as the trailer, and then they can unload the trailer or they can load the trailer using this elevator that they've stuck out there in the parking lot. Okay, I think we got enough yammering for a bit. I want to do an exercise, and let's see how this works out. So what I'd like for you to do, since we aren't in groups or anything, is individually, have you guys got pencil and paper? Okay. What I want you to do is draw a warehouse. You can make it a rectangular shape or whatever. And I want you to put the different things that would be involved in the security of that warehouse. So remember we talked about the elements that are there? We got lights, we got gates, we got a guard, we got cameras. So sketch that out for me, what that would look like. And you could do it for whatever type of a warehouse you want, like if it was one for food, auto parts, medical. If it was for like jewelry, it'd probably be a little bit different setup. But just sketch me that out, and I'm going to have you hold it up. And I've got our sign-in roster, so I'm going to give you credit for doing the project when you hold that up. We'll give you about 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And I've got the actual slide here that's explaining what I want you to do that you can look at.
Mr. Yancey,
Yes.
did you say basically sketch up what an overhead view of a depot of sorts would look like with like labeling certain aspects of it?
Yes. Just show me basically where you would need lighting or cameras or a gate.
Okay, I kind of got something like that. Let me just do like, boom, boom. Let me see if I'm holding this up good.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
So I basically just did like a shipping and a receiving, and then cameras facing certain directions, and then a parking lot and a front door.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy.
Well, you got lighting mentioned on there?
No, I didn't pay attention to or listen about the lighting. Would that be within the inside or the outside or both?
Outside. I mean, yeah, OSHA requires a certain level of lighting indoors, but for security reasons, yeah, you want it out. Okay, I see yours, Kelly. Looks good. You want to walk me through it, or you can just, I can see it, but I can't hear you if you're going to tell me something. You see why that's, I just unmute everybody. There we go. Now everybody's unmuted. Go ahead. I think you have to on your side too. Okay, you're fine. I can see it. You're good. And Justin, you go by Justin or Gregory?
Justin.
Okay, I can see yours. Looks
Okay,
good.
so I kind of just drew out kind of like Ryan did. Warehouse. I have the receiving end and then the shipping bays. On the outside, like poles or posts that serve as both lighting and security cameras. And then in each bay, there's cameras. And then I have a secure entry. And then like some SKUs kind of where they store in the
Okay, good deal. Who wants to go next? You don't want to be shy. You want to get your points for participation here. Come on, step up. Okay. The plan B for those of you who are camera shy is that you can take a picture with your phone and attach that to,
Do I need to enable my camera or something?
yeah, so I could see it. I mean, you can
Nah, I
talk me
think-
through it.
I keep clicking start video, but it won't.
Let me see why it's not working here. At my end, I've got everybody unmuted, but it says that I have to ask you to unmute before it'll do it that end. We're just working our way through this. Is anybody taking any courses this way somewhere else? Yeah, me neither. So it's a work in progress. We're going to get through it.
Yikes. What was the plan B then? I don't know how to enable
The
it.
plan B is you can use your phone, just take a picture of it, and you can email it to me or text it to me.
Can you see mine? Is my video working?
Ah, yes, I do see yours.
Okay.
You got artists to scale even.
So I got the entrance right here with the gates, and then the officer with his little office, and I got like barbed wire on the outsides with some lights, and then this is just a warehouse, and then this is the alarm. Got some alarms on the back slash the side.
Okay. I actually had a lady draw dogs on hers. I mean, like, damn, where do you work? Stalag 13 or something. One of my early, does anybody else want to share theirs before I tell a 2-minute war story? Okay. One of my first customers, I do consulting, is a hobby. Kroger paid me $120,000 for my hobby to do like a 30-day project. And one of the things they asked me to do was look in this warehouse. They had this large amount of pilfering going on. They were losing a lot of product. And so I said, well, could you show me what the inventory looks like? They said, well, it's lobsters. I'm like, damn, they know what to steal, right? I said, so show me where that pick slot is. Show me where it's stored in a warehouse. They walked me out to the freezer. I looked down and it was empty, and they go, see what I mean? There was 50 that were supposed to be in there according to our inventory. I go, damn, somebody's eating good. And they said, so we just can't figure out how it's getting out of here. These folks have freezer suits on, you know, and they check them when they come in and out, but these are in cases. And I said, where does that door go that says exit? Oh, no. If they open that door, all kinds of alarms and everything go off. I go, let's go see. And so I opened the door, nothing happened. And when we opened the door, there was a footpath that was wore through the grass that went from the back of that warehouse over to like a CVS parking lot. And there was actually a car with a trunk up sitting in that parking lot. they took so much stuff out that door that they wore the grass out going from that warehouse to that CVS pharmacy. So we walk out there, and sure enough, this trunk has product that come out of the warehouse. There was 2 or 3 boxes of lobsters. And so they just took the license plate number down, and the camera had been disabled in the back of the warehouse. The alarm for that fire door had been disabled. And the idiots put lobster right by a fire exit. So that was the easiest money I think I ever made in my life, was just showing them the ways that they could safeguard their lobster. But it's, believe it or not, folks, common sense is not common. And that people are so close to the problem, they can't see the problem. And so there's a lot of money to be made if you just kind of know how things are supposed to look, and you can give suggestions to them on how to get them back to where things are supposed to look. Our quality control and lean class that we offer, that should be your next class if you stay in our program. It does things like show you process improvement and how to identify a problem within the process and how to eliminate waste. It teaches you Six Sigma processes for quality. So I'd encourage you to check out that when we get to that part of your class. Okay, I've seen 4 people's stuff. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
Let me start my video real quick. All right. So I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I got cameras on the inside and the outside. I got a back door where the shipping is with the alarm. There's a front door with the police officer with the alarm attached, with the alarm with them. And then, yeah, and there's a parking lot. So, yeah.
Okay. One of our weeks, I think it's going to be week 3, we're taking a virtual tour. One of the operations managers for a warehouse for beauty aids is going to take us inside with his cameras and let us see how they move their product. They got specialized equipment. And so we can ask questions and all that. You know, if we'd have been on campus, we'd have been in that warehouse physically walking around in it. But this is the close I can get you, is having this guy with his iPhone saying, and this is where we do this and where we do that. Just to show you some of the type of high-speed automation that's out there that makes them able to move high volumes of product. And kind of that's what we're going through in supply chain. Before, things came in big boxes, and you have like one shipment that went to a store. Now they come in very small boxes, and they go right to the customer. They don't really go to a retail site. So we have to be on top of our game to be able to keep up with the volume of transportation demands, shipping demands. And when I order something now, you know, online, I expect to see that in the next day or the next 2 days. There's a lot of things that has to happen before that gets to me. And that's what you folks are learning about, what's happening behind the scenes. So tell me what was in your trash, the folks that did the recycle exercise. Somebody want to share what they found in their trash? I'm not a nosy neighbor. I'm just trying to figure out if you have like certain types of containers that you can reuse or things that you can divide out and recycle. Does anybody want to, did anybody get that project done?
I didn't know anything about it.
Well, we met last week, and I had some of the folks that were in that meeting last week. I just said, if you want to get ahead of the game, because it's just being assigned to you this week, that they could go ahead and do that. But that's under the discussions in our class. That's where all our
Yeah, I
projects are.
submitted something already.
Okay, you want to share with us what you discovered?
So basically, I just wrote, as you had indicated, writing a paragraph for each thing. I already recycle. So setting aside, you know, plastics, aluminum cans, tin cans, and papers is just a natural habit already. Paper, I set aside to burn because I do a regular burn every week because it usually has sensitive information on it. But in terms of recycling or reusing, one of the examples I gave was last week I did a fluid check on my vehicle, and I topped off my vehicle, and I used one of the plastic bottles. I cut off the top and I use it as a funnel. And so that was a very practical use right there.
Okay. One of the things I thought, does anybody else want to share a upcycle story or a recycle? It doesn't necessarily have to be something you did this week, but if you've done something
I
in the
recycle on
past.
the regular, so.
I mean, there's certain types of like lunch meat that I buy just for the container, so we can use that again. It may not be any better lunch meat than the other types, but they're more sturdier. But one of my students who was having problems with ants went online and Googled how to make an ant trap, and they basically took like a water bottle and they cut the top off and they inverted it and they put the drinking part back into the bottle. And then when they put sugar water in it, the ants went in, but they couldn't come out. They couldn't get out of the bottle. And it worked. She caught flies, she caught gnats, she caught mosquitoes, yellow jackets. She decided to make it out of a 2-liter bottle, and she upscaled it. And now she uses that in the corners of her yard and stuff to keep the insects from even coming in the house. And it's not got any kind of harmful chemicals in it. They just can't get out. So I thought that was a pretty ingenious use of her trash. I learned something from you folks every semester, you know, when we do our conversations and we do our exercises. So that's how I keep interested. I couldn't teach this same thing 100 times and not see new stuff. Anybody else want to share? Or are they going to send me that in the discussion and their picture of the warehouse so they get all their points for today? Okay, we got time for somebody to do CLA 1 and get credit for it. Does somebody want to pull their screen up? I can share it with you and we go through and let you do CLA 1 so you get that done. The first assignment in the Opus Works. I mean, we could work through it together so you see the answers and everything, but if you wanted to do your homework, which is going to be that quiz, we could do that together. Let me see. Can you see my screen where I've got that pulled up now?
Yes.
Okay. So when we hit the play mode, what will happen is you got narrated slides that take you through each of the, we're on slide 15 because somebody else has been using my account. But it goes through each one of those different pieces of information. Or you could just read and not have to hear it. But a lot of people like to listen to it and do other things while they're, you know, working on dinner or laundry or what have you. So when you go through that, that's the reason that they say it's going to be like 20 minutes is if you listen. If you listen to each slide, then that's how long it takes to go through it. But there's going to be these little in the presentation, these little exercises that you do to get you ready to take the quiz at the end. So let's do this one together.
Warehouse.
Place where materials are stored for future use.
Warehouse.
Okay, so we drag and drop it. Key function of the shipping department.
Logistics.
They're shipping stuff. So
Loading.
Raw material prices.
Loading.
yeah. And so this catches stuff that I didn't cover in our class too when you go through these exercises. So you don't have to really depend on me to get through it. Mines and farms that extract materials to produce a product. What are they?
Raw material providers.
Okay. Time it takes to process an order.
Order cycle time.
And you understand they get the order, they select the order, they pack the order. That's kind of the cycle there. Process of moving materials through a network of connected facilities.
This
Sites that convert raw materials into manufactured products.
Production.
production facilities.
And that leaves the last one. Materials currently being worked on, work in progress. And you'll learn more about different types of inventories.
Good job. Select the next button to continue.
So we're going to go on to the end so you can see with this,
Just as global supply,
with this,
economic and
well, I want you to go through and take the questions and then send me a screenshot is at the end of this. Which of the following is not a trend that's increased the impact of supply chain logistics and companies? Adoption of computer-based technologies. Which one's not a trend? So that one is a trend. Increasing transportation costs. That trend is an impact on, not a trend that's an impact on. I think that one is an impact. Decreased international trade, higher customer expectations. Have we decreased international trade? No. So that's the one that is.
That's a little bit.
correct.
I mean, we have now because we got the COVID going, but
Many companies use
for the purpose of this class,
the best answer to the statement above.
units per hour, line items per hour, and cases per hour are performance measures. Remember we talked about productivity for warehouses, transportation, quality, or customer response. We know it's not customer response. Could be quality, could be transportation, okay?
That's incorrect.
Could be warehouses, since they said that's correct. So when you go through here, you don't have to retake them because it tells you what the right answer is.
To review, supply chain logistics is an important aspect.
So this is what it looks like when you get to the end. It's going to give you, oh my God, 20 questions. This is probably the biggest one. They normally have 5 or 6 questions. And you can go through this as many times as you want, but what I want you to score is at least 80% on this quiz. And so if one of you each week wanted to bring up that module, then we would help you take that quiz so you'd have it done and have 80% on it. But this week we'll go through it where it says, which facility in the supply chain temporarily stores materials that are passed on to transport? Distribution, right? It was that part-time, right?
Yep.
The main productivity metric for logistics is efficiency,
True.
is order fulfillment. Well, that was worded terribly. The main productivity metric for logistics is efficiency, is order fulfillment. That's got 2 answers there, right? It's order fulfillment though, so that's got to be true. A jewelry store is an example of what type of facility? Raw materials, production, warehouse, or retail?
Retail.
Okay. Supply chain demand is a customer's need for a particular product, service, or component. True or false?
True.
Demand. Okay. Whoops, forgot to put true. So I could put anything on each one of these, and you can come back, and I'm just going to put B for all of them, just to show you how this ends.
Hey, Mr. Yancey.
Yeah,
So is Cengage and OpusWorks 2 different things?
they are.
Okay, so for Cengage to access that, do I need to buy that textbook with the code?
You got something for Cengage?
No, I was asking to access that. Do I need to buy a textbook?
No,
with the
no,
code?
no. You that code that's in that's on your syllabus and it's in the message. You're just going to copy it and paste it when you go out to OpusWorks, and it's going to give you access to your textbook and what we just went through here. You've already paid for it. It's already
Okay.
part of your course.
Oh, I
And we-
thought this was Cengage stuff. I'm looking for some Cengage, but
No, this is OpusWorks, which is a third party that brings Cengage and anybody's stuff into Ivy Tech. But this was actually done by a logistics company. They put this together.
okay.
Maybe Cengage bought it since I started teaching with it, but last time I checked, it was something like Blue Nation or something like that is who produced this.
Yeah,
but-
I'd be able to access that then. That's no problem.
Yeah, yeah. If you go to OpusWorks and put the code in, it's already with your registration, so that's how you activate it. And you'll be able to go through these. When you get to the end, after you went through the presentation and the test, it shows you, see, we were doing great until I just started picking B. It shows you all of them that you got right, all of them that you got wrong. And if you click on one of the ones that you got wrong, let's see if I can get it to open up here. I got a 40, which is not good. We need to have at least 80%. And it'll even tell you when you took and how long it took you to do it. But you can go back and retake it as often as you like. But when you get this done and you're at this screen, here's where you do the screenshot, capture it, and then you load that into your assignment. So this is what I'm looking for to show me that you went through module 1, is the results of your quiz. You can't pass it unless you've actually read the text and looked at the presentation. We're going to do some stuff in our class, but a lot of this falls to you folks coming out to OpusWorks and going through the modules each week. So this week you have 2, next week there's 3. But they're short ones, and they're all about hazardous material and safety. So any questions about OpusWorks, accessing it?
I've just got a question.
Yeah.
So on Ivy Learn, it says that we have 2 of them due tonight. Is that true?
They were today is what we're discussing them. I'm not a Nazi when it comes to turning stuff in on time. I just don't want you to be at week 4 when we're expecting you to take the exam and not know the material. So I just got it prorated out so where you'll get a chance to do it all before week 4. So if you do it this week, you're fine.
Okay, so basically it's just a weekly thing we should get
Yes.
done. Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Ideally, you do it before the class, then you get to be the smartest kid on the block because you already know everything we're going to talk about. If you do it after the class, then you feel more comfortable with the material and you probably can get through the quizzes a lot quicker. Either way you want to approach it, that's up to you. But you won't be given a 0 or, reduced points because you didn't have it done when we met. It's just preparing you to be more successful when we're meeting. Okay, so that was the last test. You can see it's posted right there. It was a 40. But there's several hundreds on there where students have taken this when I give them my account to practice with. So what we're going to do is work through one of these. This is the first one. The second one is that logistics environment, which was about the security around the warehouse. Next week, we got material handling equipment. That's got all the different types of forklifts and cranes and shelving and the different types of ways that they move materials through warehouses. And then we got safety principles is for next week. And then we've got safe handling operations. So how do you handle stuff safely, the proper lifting techniques and the proper way to wear personal protective equipment. So all of those are kind of interlinked there. The equipment, then you got how to work in a safe environment, and then how to operate that equipment safely. So they're basically all 3 talking about the same subject. And as you see, they're a lot smaller. This next chapter, it's got 23 pages. It doesn't have the score on there. Then we got material handling. I think the pages are how many questions are on there. That sounds right. Safety has only got 20. That sounds right. And then 11, they start getting smaller. There's 21 on that one. There's 15. That's how many slides. When it comes to the actual scores, you can see in our, if you look in our course, let's go back over here to the course, to the grade center. I won't be able to open this after today because your work will be in there and I can't let other people see what you're doing. But whatever the score is, like this is 18, that's how many questions are in that module. Module 3 next week only has 11. Module 4 only has, it's got 28, that's a pretty big one. And then Module 5 has 12. So some of them have a couple more questions, other ones have fewer. And this is basically what your grades look like. Can I open yours, Justin? We haven't got anything graded yet, just to show them what it looks like. Okay. So I get this thing telling me that you've done the work, and then I go in and see the screenshot that you took. And then if I can get this behind this. And when you open up your grade book, it looks like this. So it's going to have a list of all of the assignments for the entire class, when they're due, and how many points you're going to earn for them. So at any time, you can go through there and say, okay, these are supposed to be done by next week. So anything that's before that's supposed to be done too. But as long as you get it done before we meet the following week, you're okay. There's that window of opportunity to work on it. You got about 2 weeks to work on it there. So this mod also tells you what week. That's the first week if it's mod 1. If it says mod 2, M2, that's the second week. And so that keeps you on track too of what week we're working in. And I see how many of you, did you do the extra credit to introduce yourself? So there's 15 points, freebie, just to introduce yourself. So go out there and knock that out while you guys are working this week. So next time we meet, we're going to talk about material handling equipment, safety, and then operating and lifting in the environment safely. And what we're going to do as far as a project is within your work area or your house, I want you to take a picture of something that's unsafe. So if you go to Walmart and you see a pallet in the middle of the road, or you see a mop bucket that's sitting there with no signage or wet floor, if there's something that's hanging over off of a shelf, it could be something in your house, like the way tools are stored with the sharp sides pointing face up instead of down. But I want you, when you go through the safety part of our course, it's going to tell you things to look for that would identify hazards. So between now and next week, you're going to look through your trash, recycle some stuff, and you're going to take a picture of a hazard that you find either shopping or in your home. We got it? Okay. So I had some folks that were very active this week. I do appreciate that. The people who are not so active, I encourage you to be part of the conversation. It's a lot more interesting if you've got something that you can bring to the table, or if you can help answer questions, you can show us your artwork, you know. It just, it makes it better for all of us instead of just listening to me trying to get you to say something. You're not forced to. You can sit through it and not have to say anything. It's whatever you're comfortable with. But you're in a safe environment. Nobody's going to be judgmental. There's no wrong answers. It's just what you know or what you think you know, and that's what you're sharing. That's all you need. So I appreciate your attendance today. This is going to be recorded, so you can come back and review. And hopefully I find the 2 people that I didn't see today in class so I can keep them. And did everybody sign in through the chat room? If you click on chat and just say hello, that gives me a list of everybody that's here today. Then I don't have to call attendance. Looks like I got 1, 2, 3 of you out there that said here, I'm here. So please go out to our chat, type in hello or hi, and it gives me your name on our roster that you actually showed up for class today. The other folks who did their, showed me their projects and stuff, you're going to get credit for having that completed. The rest of you, take a picture of it after you draw it, send it to me. But here's the priority, is that you go out to Opus Works, you go through those modules, you take those quizzes to where you understand the information, and you do well on the certification. If you pass the certification for CLA, you get 50 bonus points that aren't in the class. It's because you actually have earned a certification. If you pass the CLT, the second one, you got an A in the class. I don't care what homework you did. Because if you have a CLT certification and you come to Ivy Tech, we give you credit for taking this class. You don't have to take it. So if you've already got that certification, you don't need this class. But if you earn the certification while you're in the class, then the only grade that you can get is an A. So those of you that have got industry experience, or those of you that can focus on getting yourself ready to take that exam, that's the #1 priority, is earning that certification. When we meet and we do these conversations and we have you take pictures of hazardous stuff or dig through your trash, that's just helping you get a better understanding of the material. I want you to understand the stuff that's going to be on that exam and earn the certification. That's priority 1. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here because I just told everybody they didn't have to do any homework, which really wasn't what I said.